recently I was on a podcast with a couple of friends of mine called Film House. They're over at Fun House, which is one of the Rooster Teeth kind of companies. And it was just really lovely because I was like, oh, a fun conversation with my friends. And then a lot of folks ended up following over quite unexpectedly. That was when I was making all these plans for crossing 10K, and then it happened way faster than I expected because I had just hung out with my friends talking about, doing the normal thing for me, which is, oh, we're talking about WandaVision. But I was lucky enough that a lot of folks were like, I'm very interested in this and wish to, in this case, subscribe to your newsletter, meaning go find you on Twitch, because they were already folks who were interested in video games, who were interested in that kind of content, and discovering that I had that was like individually this totally surprise left field growth generator in that way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Because it's a bunch of people who were like, oh, this person seems interesting. And I occasionally forget that I'm like, right, you do have to keep meeting new people. That's also a good thing.
Amy, this is exactly like a lesson in my class, but it's it's you go and find the communities that aren't doing exactly what you're doing, right? You're not just going to somebody else's Twitch video game stream, which is technically what you're doing, but most people inside your community would not describe it that way because it's emotionally a totally different thing. But you find people who are talking about TV that you're interested in, or who are playing board games, like things that are the other parts of the Amy umbrella, right? and you go and you provide value to them, which is your delightful voice, providing your infinite expertise as the person who has read every single comic book. And
I wish, but thank you.
Sorry. Relative to me. And then those folks are like, well, I didn't expect to discover a new Twitch channel today when I was just listening to this podcast I already listened to. But because you're at this point of what I call low competition, people call blue ocean, like you're bringing something people weren't expecting, which is, oh, by the way, you could also join a fun video game community featuring this person who has a lot of expertise about comic books. Then they're like, oh, okay, this is a new and unexpected introduction. And that's like the ideal way to grow your community, I think, is like present the whole umbrella of Amy to a new community when they aren't expecting to find this kind of thing. And there you go. Like that's how you grow
it sound wonderful, and again, intentional, and thank you. And clearly I should just be calling you for advice a lot more often, because just sort of making this up as I go has been the strategy for the last couple of years. But it turns out there are lots of folks who've thought really hard about community building and management.